Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Welcome back to the ICC International Trade and Prosperity Week. We've just had a terrific session with our ICC Australia colleagues on WTO reform. What we're talking about now is a question we get asked a lot in the ICC chamber family is how do we work together? How do we work between the international chambers and the local chambers? And how do we do that to build allies and alliances for the benefit of business and society? So this session is very relevant to those wanting to understand the chamber ecosystem, what we fight for, how we work together, and all of those sort of related questions. And I think in the context of this week, where we've been talking a lot about collective action, consensus-based action, and the need to speak up, which we were talking about quite a lot on the last session, I think this is going to give some insights into how we achieve that goal. But it's pretty clear, I think, to me, that if we mobilize ourselves as a family worldwide, that is a very, very powerful prospect in terms of influencing governments and getting the job done. So I'd like to introduce my colleague and friend, Mathieu, who's the Secretary General of ICC Belgium and one of our leading lights in the EU European network. Over to you, Mathieu, to moderate the panel.
Thank you, Chris. I'm really thrilled. I'm really very happy to be here with all of you, ICC UK, but also the international audience of this fantastic week that we've had together. It is also my pleasure to introduce to you today my Belgian colleagues, and I say this that we are really colleagues because we are all players in the same team, maybe in a different position, but in the same team, definitely. And that is, and I'm very, very happy, very glad that they accepted to do this webinar with today. And first of all, I would like to introduce you to Mrs. Petra van Bouwelen. Petra van Bouwelen, as you can see, is responsible for business development into her local chamber of commerce. Her local chamber of commerce is the chamber of commerce of the city of Mechelen and the region of Kempen. The city of Mechelen is quite central, let's say, in Flanders and in Belgium. And just to situate you a little bit, the city of Mechelen, which has a very deep history. I like this fact, and which is very important today in our times of sustainability policy. It is that on continental Europe, the first railroad, the first train connection between two cities in continental Europe was between the city of Mechelen and Brussels, the city of Brussels, and that was in 1835. And since then, I must say that anytime that I have to go to Mechelen, I am taking the train and thinking to that. And so, as you will have understood, Belgium was the first country on continental Europe to have a national railway network. But Petra is going to say much more about her city and region later. And then I would like to introduce to you my other very dear colleague, Wouter van Gulck. Wouter is the general manager of the Federation of the Belgian Chambers of Commerce. And Wouter is very well known personality in our economic or business diplomacy, since been working at different roles, including official ones in the past, and now leading the association, the Federation of the Belgian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. And that means actually 13 local chambers of commerce, like the one of Petra in Mechelen, but also 33 Belgian Luxembourg chambers of commerce abroad. And Wouter, I'm sure you are going to explain us much more about the role of the Federation, whether it would be at the European level with Eurochamp and at the international level, global level, of course, with the World Federation of ICC. Now, if you allow me, I will then share my screen. And now all good for that. So the agenda of today, as you will see here, is that I will try to very quickly help us identify what is the role of an ICC National Committee in its jurisdiction. It's been 10 years that I've been Secretary General, that I'm the Secretary General of ICC Belgium, and I must say it's very challenging, everyday new challenge, role very enriching and important, but that it's not always easy to explain, for instance, to my children or to my children's friends what my job is. And this is what the exercise that I'm going to try to do for us later today. Then Petra is going to talk, to present us the support that local chambers of commerce provide for in general. Of course, what is the role of the local chamber of commerce for the local economy, but also how, by doing this, they also have an essential role for the dissemination of key ICC services and products. And then Wouter will have the challenging exercise of demonstrating the complementarity of, that is the plan de résistance, the complementarity of the ICC National Committee and the local chambers. And why we do this, why we, not for the sake of our organizations, but really to benefit the local economy. And why, by doing this for the members of the chambers, we also altogether strengthen the voice of the private sector at the global level with a local response to global challenges. But that is what Wouter is going to do later. And Wouter is probably one of the most relevant personality in Belgium for doing this, as this is really also his daily job as the general manager of Belgian Chambers, the organization. Thank you. As announced, I will then now focus a little bit on the role of an ICC National Committee in the landscape of the local chambers of commerce. And for doing this, of course, we're not going to start talking about the ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce itself. We are really going to start talking about the chambers of commerce. And the chambers of commerce have roots, have an origin very early. You see in the south of France, in the city of Marseille, it looks like it is there that we first find signs of the Chamber of Commerce at the end of the Renaissance, and that is quite interesting to see. But it was really developed more like in the 17th century onward, and the idea was to bring merchants, business people of that time, and all together, so that they could focus on promoting also with the different practices, the different industry that they had, the economic interest of their city or of their region. That happened. So you of course you had these industry association, business associations called like the guild, and then you had the chambers that were also at that time the first multi-industry association, and that is how they grew and kept existing until today, where today we have like more than 10,000 chambers of commerce all around the world that more or less we'll see there is no but the same mission and let us say the same philosophy, and that adapt themselves to every day to the new realities of the economy and of their members. As I said, and I want to really to underline that there are probably no two chambers of commerce that are the same, but what they have in common it is that they are an organization that of whether people, business people, or businesses, companies who work together to improve business in their town, in the city, or in the area. As you can see, the development is such that today it is can be geographical, but also you can have these special interest chambers groups, as you can see on the slide. Enhancing the inclusion and diversity aspect that we take care of also in the governance of the most chambers, including especially at the level of the ICC. Now, to understand the chambers of commerce and coming closer to the ICC itself, we need to understand also that there are two main large models, and you can see the explanation here. And let us say, to make it very quick, on the one side you have public chambers of commerce, where very often the membership is mandatory by law, and then you have these private organizations, where it's voluntary for companies to become a member, and that is the fact that the case in Belgium. For instance, in Belgium, it's the case only as from 1875, where there was a wave of liberalism into our country, and that Belgium was a very young country. It was created in 1830, and then 45 years later, they decided to abolish the official chambers of commerce, and to replace them by private organizations. There were 15 at that time official chambers of commerce, and then they were really cancelled. And afterwards, the business community, the local business community, decided to make their own association, which they called chambers of commerce again, and that were then fully private, like they still exist today. We could talk for hours on that, but I would like to focus now, really go to the point about the ICC. With regard to the ICC, what is interesting is to see that, as I said, at the end of the 19th century for Belgium, for instance, the official chambers of commerce were closed by a law, replaced by private organizations, and then we see that during the First World War in France, what happened there is that they did not close the chambers of commerce, but they actually there were 149 chambers of commerce in France. But the Minister of Trade at that time, Etienne Clementel, actually decided to rearrange them, reshuffle them during the war by what he called economic regions, and that was way to rationalize the landscape of the chambers of commerce. Why do I say that also? It is that Etienne Clémentel is actually one of the most important founders of the ICC just at the end of the war, because it is really him who, upon the invitation of the United States, the US Chambers of Commerce sent a delegation of French business people to the US, and there were actually 5 countries that then decided in 1919 to establish the ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce, and that was the US. It was an invitation from the US, French, Belgium, the UK, of course, and Italy, and we are very proud, actually, in Belgium that we were part, and that our national committee, like ICC France, ICC UK, and the one from the United States, is among the 5 first national committees in the world. So, as from them, we developed the network of the ICC national committees to having now more than 90 committees. And you can see in parallel, there was also strengthening of within the ICC, within the International Chamber of Commerce, of the World Chambers, what is now the World Chambers Federation, where our members, the local chambers of commerce, are a member. So what is a national committee of the ICC? It really is the local platform where you find representatives of the local economy of that jurisdiction from a multiplicity of representative industries that are there to actually, in the two ways, help, on the one side, provide input, policy input, needs and comments on the activities of the ICC, and on the other way, bring some voice, some instruments, some tools of the ICC to the local business. So I've tried, you see, to put that on one slide, and I don't want to go too much into the details for the moment. But what is very important, it is to realize that it would not be possible for any chamber of commerce to actually be able to have this policy waves, I would say, at the global level with the organizations that you see on the slide: United Nations, World Trade Organization, World Customs Organization, G20, G8, G7, and many others actually. And the way that the ICC had, but what is here very important, what is here essential, it is that the legitimacy of the ICC for doing so and for having this influence is really because of its connection with the local business through the national committees and with the cooperation of the local business stakeholders, among which, of course, as we have seen previously, the chambers of commerce, the local chambers of commerce, are very important, are essential. And we include, for instance, at the level of ICC Belgium, we include next to the chambers of commerce, we include different industry associations, like the one of construction, like the one of technology, like the one of the other, the pharma, food, whatsoever. And we include, of course, directly some large multinational companies, whether Belgian or foreign multinational companies having important activities in Belgium. And the interesting thing is that we are never into a competitive position with any other organization, because what we are discussing actually at the level of the ICC very often has a few overlap. Or when it does have overlap, if we take some topics, whether it is the big challenges of today, the way to tackle it, and the instruments or the positions orientation are slightly different from the one that you can get from the national or regional, like European organization. And I believe that it is this uniqueness that needs to be underlined and understood by all the stakeholders, but also the speaking parties that we can have at the national level, including in this case, for example, the authorities. We believe that it is very important for the government and the administration to understand that what the ICC National Committee brings, for example, at the level of national policy, is rather unique, given the fact that it has been discussed within the ICC commissions where business experts or from all over the world are represented and share their opinion. On top of which, and this is my last slide before handing the floor to Petra, on top of which the access for the national, for our local business to the ICC services and products could never be as efficient as it is in Belgium, for instance, if it was not with the cooperation with the local chambers of commerce. Local chambers of commerce are in the front line, of course, for certificate of origins, for ATA carnet, for training and dissemination of the Incoterms rules, for information about the ICC arbitration, and also to put us from ICC Belgium in contact with all the most stringent and complex issues with regard to import-export from their members. We like to, together with the Chambers of Commerce, actually take the pulse of the import-export activities of their members of the companies, and also help them support the spreading the knowledge sharing of these essential instruments that are the ICC rules, for example, for trade finance, or the model contracts and everything that goes with it, including our special guidance standards for ethics, or ethical transactions, or ethics in whatever it be, marketing, or to protect whistleblowers, etc. The ICC was the first, for instance, organization to have anti-corruption rules and guidance more than 30 years ago. And today, that means that, for example, we are very well placed to help the Chambers of Commerce to tackle the new challenges for their members with regard to compliance, whether it is human rights in the supply chain, for example, or the protection of whistleblowers, because we already have a long international experience into that. I will now hand the floor to Petra from Voka Chamber of Commerce of Mechelen-Kempen, and a very loyal and important ally of ICC Belgium today. Thank you, Petra. The floor is yours.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for the kind words, Mathieu. And also thank you, ICC UK, for giving me the opportunity to speak for this audience and to illustrate how we support the services of ICC, which I hope we will keep on doing for a long time. Maybe just to illustrate which chamber I'm working. So we are based in the province of Antwerp in Flanders region of Belgium, as you can see here on the map. And Voka is actually an alliance of 6 chambers of commerce in Flanders. And I'm working for the Chamber of Mechelen and Kempen, which are 2 districts in the province of Antwerp. You can go to the next slide, Mathieu. I was quite surprised though by your history knowledge of Mechelen, because I was working for the Mechelen Chamber before, and before we merged with the Kempen Chamber, and I didn't know about the railway, so it's quite interesting to know. Our chamber dates from 1924, the Mechelen Chamber, that is. Well, now we are merged chamber since 2018, and we have about slightly over 50 employees. And we have about 3,000 members. So those are SMEs and also large companies, but also startup companies, various sizes though. So also various industries, various activities. And so they are based in the district of Mechelen and Turnhout, the Kempen region. And the main business sectors of our region are health and care, life science, bio-based applications, process technology, logistics, ICT and media, B2B service sector as well, construction, food and beverage is a very, very important sector in our region, because Mechelen has Europe's largest cooperative auction of fresh fruit and vegetables, also bio and halal certified. The services we provide are similar to all chambers. So we are supporting in sustainable entrepreneurship, digitalization, innovation, finance, marketing, HR, labor markets, education, startups, scale-ups, accelerators, also family-owned businesses, and of course, my domain, international business. You can go to the next slide, please. So what we do to support our entrepreneurs with and how we disseminate the key ICC services and products is, first of all, we give we organize a lot of training. Incoterms is one of the main trainings we organize every year, sometimes two times a year. We organize them live, but during the pandemic we had webinars, so we also continued with that half a day. We also organize training about Incoterms on short-term coaching programs. And then we discuss also the best practices and we do exercises in small groups where we use the book, the Incoterms book, and the terms, of course, that are discussed, the Incoterms 2020, which are quite new since last year, of course. So it's really very important for international trade that these Incoterms are well known by our entrepreneurs. We also organize ATA Carnet info sessions. So for temporary export, we promote this Carnet, and we do this through info sessions and also by our help desk at the export desk. So, and then we have documentary credits. That's a topic that is also very crucial for exports outside EU mostly. And we organize half-a-day seminars about this topic. Arbitration is not so known and not so much used by our companies. So this way we want to, this year we organized a webinar in cooperation with CEPANI, which is the Belgian Center for Arbitration and Mediation. and to actually sensitize our companies and to inform them about the advantages of arbitration, the possibilities of arbitration and mediation as well. So we had very good speakers on that. The promotion of publications and online resources, that's a logic that we promote the Incoterms 2020 book, but also the app and the free wall chart and other tools that are available. So not so many companies are aware there are many tools available on the website of ICC. So I always promote the website, and we also, when we have the webinar or a seminar, we give them possibility to buy the book. Last year, that it was, of course, because of the launch of the Incoterms 2020, was very crucial that we offered also the book together with the seminar. And the same for the documentary credits. Of course, there is also a very useful guidebook. There's also the guide to export and import, which is even is actually as important for the people working for the Chamber of Commerce as for our entrepreneurs starting with export and import. It's a very good manual, very decent. And then we have the international model contracts online. We get a lot of questions, inquiries of our companies, our members, about, do we have an example of a sales contract, an example of a distributorship, about trademark licenses. So then I direct them to the website of the ICC, where they can find different model contracts, which are very valuable for the international trade, of course. And then during the pandemic, there was, of course, also the question about the force majeure. So we got a lot of questions about that too, and could give the information about the contracts that were made up by ICC. Next slide, please. So there is also the online library, which I'm about the certificates of origin, the training guidelines. Also IPR, a topic that is discussed a lot, and there is a lot of, especially also for China and for other countries. This is a hot topic. Commercial law, digital growth, trade and investment, banking and finance, global governance. These are all topics that can be found online on the ICC website. We also ask experts that promote and use the tools of the ICC. So we work a lot with speakers, with experts that know ICC and that promote the tools that are existing, and the library, a lot of information that is available on the website. So some of the experts are even member of the ICC Belgian Commission on Incoterms, which is very valuable because they have the hands-on information when they give the lecture for the trainings. And then there's the events. So there are a lot of free events on the website to be found. So not many companies know that, but you could easily navigate through the website and find all those events, which are quite interesting from all over the world. And of course, there is the World Chambers Congress in Dubai this year, which I will be participating in as well, and where you get the chance to meet so many people from chambers, various types of chambers. But this is ideal, especially for my position, to get in touch with people from different countries to co-organize missions or even online sessions about a certain region or certain topics. We're also open for new suggestions and new formats, because we try to be innovative in the sessions we are organizing, and we try to implement B2B sessions and virtual trade missions and best practices of European companies all over the world. So that's really, a lot of possibilities to organize a lot of events and information sessions and coaching programs with the tools and the information that can be found on the website and through the people of ICC. So that's very insightful and very valuable to me. And I hope I can keep on doing this. For the people who want to reach me, this is me, and you can find me on LinkedIn. And this is also my website, our website in English, but that's the Flemish website, and my email address. So that's about it for me. Mathieu, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Petra. And I'm always pretty much impressed by the how many different things actually how many products, how many services of ICC you have the level of the chambers to take care of when you see the list. It's always nice. And I must also say that whether it comes from Mechelen or from other chambers, we also are being put in contact with some of your members sometimes who are having some technical difficulties, whether it is with some ICC or also something or another one, and that it is always quite interesting and challenging, and that I really appreciate trust among our organizations. It's very nice, and that would probably not be the same. Also not on a daily level and practical level without the cooperation with the Federation of the Belgian Chambers and General Manager Wouter van Gulck. Wouter, the floor is yours, and I already look forward to see and listen to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mathieu, and good morning to all of you. Maybe before I start on the actual topic, just a few words on the Federation of Belgian Chambers of Commerce. As Mathieu said already, we are the umbrella organization for all local chambers in Belgium, 13 in total, and 33 bilateral chambers of commerce, mostly based abroad. We support the chambers. We enable them to offer the best possible services to their members. We coordinate the work of the chambers in the field of export formalities, and then we think about ATA, CANIS, and certificates of origin. And then finally, we do represent the chambers as well internationally towards Euro chambers and of course towards ICC. And for this reason, I'm very happy that Mathieu and Chris, you invited me to tell you more about how we work together, ICC and the chambers, at the benefit of our companies. So the way I see our relationship is really a two-way street. And in this relationship, I see that the chambers are the boots on the ground. They know what lives in the business community, on the factory floor. They know the concerns of entrepreneurs. Chambers are able to give a voice to individual entrepreneurs who each on their own are probably too small to be heard. Chambers voice the concerns and expectations towards their local, regional, national politicians. But if there's an international dimension at hand, then they won't hesitate to involve ICC. And they know that ICC will bring the issue to the appropriate level. Maybe I can give you a concrete example. It's very close to both UK and Belgium. So when you import goods into a country, the customs value of the goods is calculated on the CIF Incoterms. CIF, cost, insurance, freight, means that the transportation costs are part of the customs value, which is the value that is used to calculate import duties. Now, because of Brexit and because of COVID, transportation costs have risen exponentially. I don't have to tell you. And as a result, it means that the input duties that one might have to pay have gone up as well. And for this reason, companies would very much like that the customs value is no longer calculated on the CIF value of a good, but on the FOB value. FOB means free on board. the transportation costs are taken out of the equation, are taken out of the customs value, and so import duties to be paid would be lower. And this could have a major financial impact on companies. An individual company is too small to put this issue on the agenda of the political decision makers, but it might signal the problem to its local chamber. And once the chamber knows, then it will put the wheels into motion to raise the issue to the right level. And in this case, we would of course involve ICC, because ICC is the right party when it comes to Incoterms. So such a lobbying effort is a typical example of a bottom-up approach where ICC might intervene because a problem that has been signaled at a local level. But the relationship between ICC, National Committee, and the local chambers can also happen in the other direction. As Mathieu told already and Petra demonstrated, ICC has developed many useful instruments that prove their value to local entrepreneurs. So we mentioned the Incoterms, but there's many more. There's the rules governing letters of credit, bank guarantees in trade finance. There's the model contracts for international sales and distribution, etc. Now, what do these instruments mean concretely for companies? And let me give you another concrete example that probably you experienced as well in the UK. At the beginning of the COVID pandemic, chambers of commerce received several calls from companies that couldn't fulfill their contractual obligations. Shipments were stuck. They had no access anymore to components or spare parts. They couldn't send staff overseas. So they asked the chamber what they could do and if they could obtain a force majeure certificate. Now, for our chambers, it was the first time they were confronted with such a massive call for force majeure certificates. But fortunately, we could fall back on the expertise of ICC Belgium in this regard. There is something like the ICC force majeure and hardship clause, and the knowledge that ICC has developed in this field over the years proved to be very useful for companies at the beginning of the pandemic. It actually, and I'm convinced of that, it saved many of them. It saved many of the commercial relation between Belgian companies and their foreign customers or suppliers. Another element where local chambers and ICC work together is dispute resolution. Petra mentioned it briefly. Now, most members of chambers of commerce are SMEs. They're often engaged in cross-border transactions. But if you know that SMEs have little resources, most likely they don't have a litigation budget. So when a business dispute arrives, this could seriously compromise the company's financial health. Because of unplanned costs, because of the psychological and even reputational damage, because of the impact on the business performance, and the fact of having to resolve a dispute with a foreign business partner through a judicial court system automatically denotes a risk of discrimination in a foreign court. Now, ICC arbitration does away with most of the deficiencies inherent to the classical judicial system, and it offers a number of benefits. Mathieu, if we can go to the next slide. There are a number of benefits for companies and certainly for SMEs when it comes to arbitration. First of all, there's speed. The arbitration process is significantly faster and carried out in a shorter time frame than the judicial process, which takes years to resolve. When we talk about speed, we talk about cost effectiveness as well. A speedier process often results in lower costs. Another benefit is privacy. Because arbitration rests on confidentiality. Arbitral proceedings are kept under secrecy between parties and the arbitral tribunal. A fourth benefit that we see is the expertise of arbitrators. These people are professionals. They are specialized in a certain industry, and that enables them to better understand the issues that are brought before them, and they can promise a more suitable outcome in less time. And finally, an arbitration award is final and binding, which in most jurisdictions means that there's no incidental remedies or appeals. And it is through ICC, through the national committee in each country, that members have access to the best advice to control their risk of litigation. It's not only arbitration, the ICC dispute resolution also involves mediation and other solutions. So I really can advise you to contact your ICC National Committee to know more about dispute resolution. As Petra said, it's not known enough by SMEs. So we, as Chambers of Commerce, we have the obligation to inform our members more about this. And you see that this constant interaction between local chambers and the ICC National Committee is a blessing for companies that are members of the local chamber and a win for societies in global. Companies can benefit of all the knowledge and the practical tools that ICC has developed. And thanks to ICC, they can table their concerns at the right forum. For ICC, of course, they want to know and make sure that all the codes and the clauses and the tools that they develop, that these reach the right beneficiaries. So ICC also needs to be fed with information from the field so that it can contribute to effective policy making. So in the middle of this are chambers. They are the necessary conduit between ICC and the companies. And I'm really convinced that both ICC and local chambers can create stronger, competitive, and more resilient companies. Now, if we look at the collaboration between the national committees and the local chambers, the impact on the ground is that we allow our businesses to deal with local, but also with global challenges. And it's no secret that the challenges companies are facing these days are really overwhelming. Just mentioning a few, we have the transition to a carbon neutral economy. There's the digital revolution that leads to new business models. We have supply chains that are coming under pressure because of transportation costs, because of protectionism, scarcity of resources, geopolitical tensions, and so on. For companies, it's important to know that they are not alone in facing these challenges. A lot of work is being done by the Chambers of Commerce at all levels, ICC, but also Euro chambers and national chambers, by the local chambers, to study the impact of these challenges on companies and to advocate for sound policies with decision makers, policies that help tackle these challenges, but while taking into account the impact on SMEs. We don't want to unnecessarily put extra burdens on companies. ICC and chambers, they have developed a lot of concrete instruments to help companies. For instance, ICC co-created SME 360X, which is a platform that measures the impacts of business operations on the environment, a newly released tool. ICC also launched a global campaign on innovative trade finance solutions for SMEs and for micro companies, especially useful in developing countries. ICC established a Center of Entrepreneurship that pairs entrepreneurs with experts from around the world to provide global trainings, mentoring, coaching. And ICC is also a partner in the Global Alliance for Trade Facilitation. It supports governments in implementing the WTO's trade facilitation agreement by putting in place concrete projects that cut through red tape, that often hamper businesses in cross-border actions and that cause costly delays at borders. These are a few concrete examples, but more generally, I could say that both local chambers and ICC, we share the conviction that any business that thrives today for the long term is driven by a purpose, and a purpose that is much larger than profit alone. We see that the growing number of companies and companies of all sizes turn their company into purpose-driven businesses, meaning that they turn their mission statement into more than just a slogan. Companies know how they are going to change the world for the better through their products and services. And now I want to make a link with the mission of ICC. ICC is the World Business Organization, enabling businesses to secure peace, prosperity, and opportunity for all. Because of this mission, ICC is really the focal point of the private sector at the global level for the United Nations, and also for the UN Sustainable Development Goals that provide a pathway to development for all. The SDGs really are a guiding principle for chambers of commerce everywhere, and especially in Flanders. In Flanders, the chambers of commerce developed a charter on sustainable entrepreneurship for companies. The difficulty for companies often is to translate the SDGs into concrete actions in the field. And it is by collaborating with ICC and UNITAR, UNITAR is the UN training center, that the Flemish chambers have developed a program which translate the SDGs in concrete actions. They help companies take actions and make a sizable contribution towards a more sustainable world. And we're very proud and happy that the program of the Flemish Chambers will be presented at the World Chambers Congress in Dubai end of November as a best practice in the fight against climate change. Now, to conclude, I could say that in all international instances, including at its permanent offices in New York and Geneva, where ICC is engaging with the United Nations, ICC works together with the private sector, with chambers of commerce and with businesses to deliver. And that would not be possible without a network of more than 90 ICC national committees all around the world, where ICC and the local partners work hand in hand. And I hope that today we could give you a taste how we do that in Belgium. This network and this collaboration is really instrumental in making companies accountable and respond to global challenges. Or if I want to say it with the words of the mission of ICC, in the words of John Denton, the Secretary General of ICC, ICC wants to make businesses work for everyone, every day, everywhere. Thank you, Mathieu, and I give the floor back to you.
Thank you, Wouter. And for the few minutes that we have, I believe that it would be more than relevant to take one or two questions from the chat. And there are many that are very interesting, but there is one that I particularly like, because I believe that this is really a practical question for companies as well. And that question is, well, what are the main benefits of being a member of each chamber? And is there a membership that includes access to all chamber services, or do you have to join separately? More in the detail, is there an ICC local and national chamber group membership available? Would this cover our company globally or just within a particular country? And very quickly, I would like to say, well, first, there is not such a thing that exists. And membership is, in theory, separate and by country. So you cannot be, by default, a member of ICC everywhere in the world or into different jurisdiction. But through the ICC membership to a national committee, you have the doors open of the global ICC commissions. And with regard to Belgium, there is not such a thing as a joint membership. But what the chambers are aware of, it is that any company that will contact ICC Belgium by starting its communication with us by saying that they are a member of a local chamber, one of the 13 Voka chambers or CCI or IHK in Belgium, they will be served as any member of the ICC. Means that we will provide them with publication discounts or event discounts. We'll provide them with any support that we can in order to help them, etc. The difference is to be practical, and the benefit of being a member of ICC Belgium is access to the ICC global commissions. Then for the companies that would be interested by that, they need to become a member of the ICC. But for everything else that regards the product, the publication, the events, the support, we are very happy to say that all members of the chambers are very much welcome at the level of the ICC Belgium, for instance. I don't know, Petra and Wouter, if you want to add something on that.
Yeah, I can add something from my side, which is, so I talked about Voka. Voka is the alliance of 6 chambers of commerce in Flanders. So the companies that are member of our chamber, they are not automatically member of the other chambers, but if they want to register for a course, for a webinar or a seminar in another chamber, they will be the same rate as a member rate. So they will not be treated as a non-member in another chamber. It all depends, of course, also on the type of activities, events, because some events are really exclusive for the members of that region. But mostly for the trainings, the companies that are member of one chamber, of one Voka chamber in Flanders, they are also allowed to participate as a member in other chambers for training, that is.
Mathieu, I like to add something on.
Sure.
The question started with what are the main benefits of being a member of each chamber, and I would say the benefits is it's access to an organization that defends your interests at all possible levels, starting at a local level in Mechelen-Kempen and then right going up to the international level thanks to your help. It's also access to services, concrete services that help me as a businessman or woman grow locally, grow internationally. And then thirdly, it's access to a network of other entrepreneurs. And I think this is oftentimes underestimated. People join a chamber because they want to do business. They meet fellow entrepreneurs, they might meet clients and suppliers, but also they can learn from each other. A term that I use a lot when I talk about chambers of commerce is peer learning. Chambers are only facilitators. They bring people together. It's not the chamber that knows how you must run your business, but they know other people and they will bring you in contact and together you go forward. So I think that's the reason why every business should be a member of a chamber of commerce.
And with these wise words, I would like to hand over the floor to ICC UK and thank you, Chris, and all colleagues, Tamara and Natalie, for the fantastic support. It's been a very cool moment for us to discuss all of that with you. I hope you found this interesting, and we are, of course, available to remain in contact by LinkedIn or email or whatever.
Thanks very much, Mathieu, and thanks, Petra. Thanks, Wouter. It's really good to hear actually what's going on in other countries, and I think hopefully for our listeners, you got a sense of what the chambers as a family do. And I think in the context again of this week, the good news is that we've been around challenges, major challenges and crises in the world for 100+ years, going back to the 1500s, if you really want to go back to the beginning. The point is we can mobilize around major issues, working together with industry and wider stakeholders. And I think, in the context of the current challenges, that's exactly what we need to do once again in the face of a major challenge, both COVID, but also the economic recovery. So that's the challenge ahead. This is some lessons to learn. You've had a blast of how ICC, local chambers and national chambers all work together. If you want to get in contact with your local ICC teams or local chambers, just either email your local ICC or national chambers. In most cases, by the way, ICC is actually embedded in the national chambers, particularly in the emerging markets. The two entities are the same. So just get in contact with any one of the members of the family and we'll all point you to the right places to go. That's the good news, and that's a fairly easy process to go through. So thanks once again for all our speakers. Thank you to our audience as always. Thank you to our sponsors and supporters around the world. It's been a great session and the content will be available for another 7 days. So you'll feel free to share it with colleagues if they haven't been able to join today. The next session will kick off at 2 o'clock British Standard Time, and that will be with our ICC Argentina team, looking at climate action and sustainable growth across Latin America. So another very relevant topic to finish the week, and that will be our closing session for this week's set of events. So thank you very much, everybody, and hopefully see you back at 2 o'clock.